What's up guys, DJ back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about investing and collecting in binder collections. And what I mean by this, I mean collecting complete sets and just filling up a binder, old school style, right? So none of this PSA talk, none of this sealed product collecting kind of style. We're talking old school collecting, all right? This is what we all used to do back in the day, all right? So we're going to talk about, is it worth investing? Is it worth collecting? And I think we already know the answer with collecting. We've talked about this heaps of times. You collect what you like, you collect what you love. But I feel like this is the best time to start collecting binder sets and completing sets, all right? So a time like this where supply is super duper low in the market right now, like there's barely any sealed product to open because people are scalping or, you know, prices are too high for people to afford. The next best thing, right, is singles. Singles are super cheap right now and affordable to an extent. Of course, a lot of the commons and uncommons have forever been cheap, all right? Even vintage, you know, vintage commons, uncommons, they're low, right? Even played holographic cards from back in the day are fairly affordable as well. You know, the booster packs for those vintage packs are like $1,000, $700, $800 AUD, okay? So you're not going to open up a pack to try to pull those commons and uncommons, and same with a holographic, I mean, unless you have the money for it. So the next best thing is to buy the singles, and if you're completing sets, I tell you what, it is super satisfying to complete them. And as you all know, I complete binder collections. My last video was showing you my vintage collection. I have a whole bunch of modern as well that I didn't really show either, just because that would take a long time. The last time I made a collection video for my binders, it took like an hour and a half. So it's super fun to do, alright? I hold a bit of a position in it. But the thing is, and I've said this before, right? A lot of people have stirred away from this binder collecting, right? They've moved on to PSA cards, grading them. And when people do that, they take cards from their binder collections or their complete sets to grade, all right? Or they buy other people's collections to grade that card. So when people do that, you're losing another completed set. If you have a complete base set and you're taking out the holos from it, you're taking out the Charizard to grade, you no longer have a complete base set anymore, right? Because you've graded one of the cards that's not complete in a binder. Some of these sets, as you all probably know, are worth big money now. So, you know, base set is trending for like $1,500 for a complete set in a binder. Granted, those conditions are all over the place because, you know, some will be played, some will not be. But they're trending for about $1,000 to $1,500 AUD, okay? So I said like that, back in the day, it would have cost $100, you know? Or, you know, if you collected it slowly but surely, you can still afford it, right? So if you can't afford $1,000, $1,500, but if you bought a card every single week for a year, you can most likely complete the base set, or complete a jungle set, or a fossil set, right? Those sets are tiny compared to the modern sets now that are like 200 plus cards in them, and you know, there's a lot of secret rares, a lot of gold cards, a lot of rainbow rares that are fairly pricey in these modern day cards, in these modern day sets, right? So, you know, the best sets that I would personally collect, which I think you all know, is I'm completing the vintage sets, and I think they are definitely something you could invest in. But, you know, besides the money factor, that satisfaction of completing a set is something else. The feeling that you get from that completeness is like an awesome feeling, right? And not to mention, when you have a complete set and it's vintage and, you know, conditions could be varying, but the prices still hold fairly well. If you're getting these single cards for good prices, then, you know, that's a bonus, right? And if you got friends of a friend and you can trade cards that you don't need anymore and you get those cards back, you know, it just really works out. I think it is definitely worth collecting, 100%. Collecting binder sets and buying singles and completing these sets are great fun. You know, it's good mentally, it's good financially as well because it's a lot cheaper than opening up packs. And I know a lot of people love to open up packs and they like to take the gamble and try to get the big cards out of it. But in this day and age, in 2021, it's pretty easy to do. To get a binder, it doesn't have to be a fancy binder, it doesn't have to be what I had. I was going off cheapo binders for a long time. I only recently got some quality binders, right? So, you know, you can still get that same satisfaction from completing a set or buying a couple cards every single week, adding it to the collection, just having a look at it. One of the biggest collectors out there, SM Pratt, you know, his videos, he always talks about binder collections, and binders are the biggest things that he always looks at, and I don't blame him for that, you know, because the binders, they're achievable, they're still affordable. If you're not going hard at it, right, you're not going to lose sleep overnight, right? So people might buy a Skyridge set. I think Randolph bought one for like $15,000. Now, you don't need to do that, right? You could just buy one card a week, one card every 2 weeks. Depends what your, you know, finances are like, but it's doable. And if you're patient enough and you're consistent enough, it still engages you in the hobby. You don't lose interest. I know there's a lot of negativity right now in 2021 for Pokemon, but it doesn't have to be like that. You can still remain positive. You can still afford a lot of these singles, you know. If you're buying an energy card to complete a set, how much is an energy card? How much is a common card? How much is an uncommon card? It only gets to the point where it goes to the holographics. They can get a little bit pricier, but then you can also save for that. By the time you reach that point, if you bought all the cheap stuff first, you'd be like, I'm nearly done. I only need 5 more cards. That's a great feeling. If you go after the big cards first, which a lot of people recommend, which I don't blame them too, because a lot of those big cards do rise faster, or those prices change more frequently than the common and uncommon cards. But if you want to stick at it, and if you want to have that bit of a pleasure and, you know, a good mental sense, if you buy a lot of the cheap cards, you feel like you've completed the set a lot faster than what you would if you went for that more expensive stuff, especially if you can't afford it, right? So I've taken that route multiple times, and have I regretted it? Yes and no, depending on the prices, but it always depends on what you can afford, guys. So there it is. That's my my tips. Binders are, I think, underrated. I think it was a trend back in the day, and now it is coming slowly back in. If you wanted to get into it, now is a really good time. If you have any questions about binder collecting at all, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. I love collecting binders, and, you know, I'm not confusing you guys with, I guess, my passion for collecting binders. I just really think that it can definitely come back into fashion, kind of like shoes, kind of like hats. Something was trendy back in the 90s, which was binder collecting, has kind of lost its touch when PSA came along, you know, with the card, people grading cards. When that's the fashion right now, right? Sealed product is also the fashion right now. But I think there will come a time where old school binder collecting will come back into play, especially when the market is how it is today, with the, you know, shortage of sealed product to open and shortage of products around. But there is plenty of singles out there. So many people are selling singles. It's everywhere. eBay, TCG Player, you know. Plenty to go around. If you want to collect something in Pokemon that's affordable, this is definitely the best option for you guys. And it's super fun too, alright? So very helpful for you guys financially and mentally. Affordable, you can do it, and you can stay in the hobby. You don't have to leave. A lot of people are leaving. I made a video on that with Dragon Ball Super coming in the way, and Flesh and Blood and all that other TCGs. But Pokemon, still a great hobby. I still enjoy it. You can still enjoy it if you want to. You can still collect it, and I think you can still make money the right way, alright? That's pretty much it, guys. I'll see you next time. 2 days' time. Bye.